Hello.
Morning, how's everything in the camp?
Yeah, okay. I just had a meeting with Scott Retberg and I have not done an agenda for today. I apologize. It's been a bit hectic. We don't have good water where I'm staying, so we've been dealing with all kinds of issues around that. We have a borehole, like a well, and the water is now coming out completely gray, meaning, hang on one second. Yeah, one second. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so there have been some issues, but it was good to see Scott today. I recorded him viewing our demo, and I'm going to upload that now without a public link, so you can have a look at it. It's kind of interesting.
How was he?
Yeah, he was good. It was nice to see him, and he was impressed by the work we're doing. He'd never been in the, hang on, just,
Morning.
but visibility public, no, unlisted. Upload, yeah. He'd never been in the Vision Pro, so it was that was new for him, and he
Mhm.
found it. I didn't tell him anything. We didn't have a lot of time, so he didn't even know what options were available to him. But he figured it out, so that's a good sign.
Good. So he said nice things about the project and he was pleasant to you.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, no, we always have a nice time. He has a full department here now, so he's
I
got
know, I know, I've known Scott for like 20 years.
Yeah, no, exactly. So he's got a full department. I know he announced it, but today I finally got to see the building. It's like a double building with kind of a glass in between. So that was nice. That's newly set up.
He's got
And
a center. He's running the center of digital narrative.
yes,
The
exactly. That's the correct term, exactly. So it was nice to see it, meet some people. I was introduced to them as Future of Text and XR person, which is close enough to being correct. And obviously, I told them it would be interesting if we could collaborate with them on something. So we'll keep talking and see what happens.
Okay. Did you meet Joe Tabby? Big
Uh,
beard.
Sorry, what did you say after the name?
Joe Tabby, he's got a big white beard now,
Hmm.
kind of gray balding hair. No.
No.
Scott was the founder of the Electronic Literature Organization in 1999. And then Joe Tabby came on board shortly after that and led the preservation initiative. So he was one of the first people working in preservation and accessibility. And then he became our president in 2006, and that's when I joined. But I started working with the ELO in 2002 for the first conference that Scott held, which was at UCLA that Margie Lusenbrink and Kate Hales sponsored. So long way. They've been together a long time, working together. And Joe was at University of Illinois at Chicago and made the leap to Bergen when Scott got, moving with his vision. And so Joe's been there now for at least 5 or 6 years. Jason Nelson's there now. Astrid Ensign was there for a while, but then has jumped back down to Germany, where her family is. So yeah, a lot of good people there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a good department. It looks good. And yeah, so Andrew, Scott Retberg, he tried your system today. We didn't have a lot of time, so I didn't even give him an intro. I told him nothing. And he was in there opening things and all of this. I made a 5-minute video of him doing it, which I just gave you the link to, just uploaded. So we should all have a look at that when we have a chance to go through things. So today I expect Danny and I have an agreement that I'm supposed to do the agenda at least a day before Wednesdays, and today I didn't. I don't have an agenda at all. I have some practical issues here, so I quite simply forgot, so I apologize. So I expect today what we'll do is do a few any other business kind of things first. Then we will go through, Andrew, your view while in headset, because it's really nice. And then for the rest of the time, and I understand, Dina, you may have to leave early because school has started. That's fine. I have 2 hours, but if you have to leave early, whatever the priority will be today is obviously fine. But for the rest of the time, we talk a bit more about the book and the symposium. That seems reasonable, right?
I just need to leave at 9:30 today. It's Monday that classes start, and so I won't be at the meeting on Monday at all. It's gonna be
Okay.
crazy, crazy week. Crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yeah, that's fine. So let's have some fun now. So yeah, I had a bit of a breakthrough yesterday that I'd really like to share with you guys. And it is, okay, I see, Peter. There's two parts to this, and I really would like your opinion on both because I've been racking my brain over what to do with my own personal author. And Dini, the survey that I've done really reflects what you have been talking about, the importance of being able to edit and place images and word import export. So thank you for really helping me see that. So I've been looking at other things, and I'm sure you do something similar when you have an idea for something cool, like, oh, metadata is so and so, or whatever, a thought, an idea. You may write it down in reminders or something. So please let me just ask all three of you. When you have an idea and it's not necessarily for a specific paper and it's not a to-do item, where do you currently put it? An idea, a thought, an insight, an inspiration.
I have a folder on my desk that has different things that I'm writing or thinking about. So I have poetry inside that folder. I have essays and manuscripts in the works. Another folder, I have a folder of like concepts, ideas that I'm thinking about. So I have a folder that says, thinking.
So are they folders on your computer desktop?
Mhm.
So are they, I'm guessing they're Word documents.
Oh yeah.
Right, okay. That makes sense. Andrew, how about you? Do you do that? Not everybody does. I'm just asking.
Where do I store files?
No. Where do you store thoughts? Like, let's say you have a
Oh,
discussion with a friend and you think, oh, that's interesting.
well, it very much depends on how formed the thought is. If it's just like a thought that pops into my head and I want to keep it, it goes on my phone. I just have notes on there. If it's a thought where I'm like, I want to actually do something about this and share it, I'll put it online on some Google Doc, and that way I can share it with others in case there's like a collaborative project.
So you
So it
use
kind of depends.
notes for the ones that are currently not necessarily known where you want to put them.
Right, yeah.
Well, what about you, Peter?
Okay. When I'm out, I'll always make sure that I have a small post-it pad in my pocket and a pen so that if I have no electronic device around, I'm able to jot something down. Usually that'll take the form of, say, a URL from a magazine I'm browsing at Barnes& and Noble or something along those lines. If I'm in front of my computer, I'll use and oh, if I'm in front of my computer and it's not directly related to an ongoing project, I'll use Devon Think and I'll use the menu bar widget to take a little formatted note and I'll have it tagged as idea or inspiration or to do, depending upon its exact nature. If it's related to a major project, I'll have a dedicated Tinderbox file, and I'll open the Tinderbox file and drop the ideas in there for mind map style organization. And of course, using Tinderbox agents, which are extremely useful. They're basically background queries that can go and create aliases of things underneath them, so that you can look for, specific terms or people or anything along those lines, even more complex queries. So I can organize them using the Tinderbox agents, but they'll just get dropped in as a regular Tinderbox note.
Right. Okay. So it seems like there is similarities, and I don't want to draw this out too long, but to explain the two-part thing here, I really want your opinion. So currently in Author, we have a journal. You do Command J and it opens an author document like any other document, but it's hidden. You can't accidentally delete it. You use it as your journal for those who journal. So I'm planning to implement exactly the same, but Command I, obviously not when you've selected text, for your ideas. You write them down. So the idea is simply that you write these things in one document. So over time, you can search, do different views, you can navigate kind of your idea store. So that's the first. And for me, I think that'll be useful. And I'm going to try to integrate it with Siri so you can actually speak to Siri, add to my ideas, something like that. So that's it. And the other half of it is a little bit more advanced and interesting. And that is, I'm going to look at a way whereby when you're in author or reader, you use the AI when you ask a question to automatically take everything that is in your ideas document as part of the context prompt. So what goes to ChatGPT or whoever we're using would be a prompt taking into account the following, and then it is all the text for all the things you find interesting. And then you have the prompt. So it will be trying to really customize the prompt based on who you have said to the system you are. Yeah, Andrew.
So I think that's really interesting. I see potentially issues with how I keep notes, and that is I'm not just brainstorming one thing or one topic, a bunch of different disjointed topics that I do not want to overlap. So I just keep those in separate note files. It sounds like you're saying this is linked to the user, not per document or per idea. So wouldn't we run into problems if you're asking AI to do something and it's getting fed all this information from everything you were thinking about rather than just what you want it to be interested in?
I don't know is the answer. I think this is the kind of thing to investigate. I have no idea. And I don't know how the interaction would work either. The thinking is a little bit around if I'm working on let's say a specific ACM paper, I put my notes in there at the end or on the side or whatever. If I'm working on something else, it has the project. But if there's something else like, oh, I have a deep insight or this or that, or I find that fascinating, it's just stuff that my brain resonates with. So that's why it should maybe be relevant for an LLM to use as context for how it provides an answer to me. By the way, I asked ChatGPT for names for such a feature, just for the storing. Oh my God, it came back with it because I asked it for names. It said Echoes of Thought, Seed Bank, Catalyst Chronicles, Ember Pages, Thought Garden, Augmentarium, Insight Amplifier. I mean, wow, that was kind of fun, right? Anyway,
How does this, how are you connecting this to our project, just out of curiosity?
I'm not connecting it to a project yet. This is a few minutes of kind of any other business in the beginning. This is about what's related. One thing we have to remember in the Sloan project, it does say that what we're doing here will connect with reader and author. So there is a clear connection there, but also hopefully later on we'll be able to work more on the metadata because one of the key things for my ACM hypertext human paper is the notion of high resolution, bringing your own self into it. So we really need to develop at some point a kind of a key to who I am, that if I have developed that through whatever system on my computer, when I go into the Sloan XR world, I can give that. So it's not just a preference of font size and color, it's also a preference of vast amount of information to give to a future LLM so that the environment deals with me rather than a generic person. So that was that. So Peter and Dini, have you had a chance to look at Andrews? I've only seen the video. I haven't been in yet.
No, I thought that was what we're doing today together.
Yeah, no, me too, exactly. So let's see. Peter, are you going to go in with your Meta?
Yeah, let me go grab the headset. Hang on a minute.
Okay. I'm clicking on the link current live. That's the one that's
Okay, I'm gonna put my glasses on.
Just for clarification, Andrew, uh, none of the hand commands work, right?
No, the swap hands works, but yeah, the fingertips are just there right now.
I can't get the swap hands to work. I think
Did you try pinching it?
that gave me out of the world. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, so it has to be pinched, not just touched. Okay, fair enough. That
Right. Yeah, we
simplifies.
got rid of the touch because it was, well, we never had touch on the mana menu, but once we got rid of the prism menu, we realized touch was really annoying.
Right. So it's really nice the way we can drag a abstract out. I can't remember if we agreed or not, and if you haven't done it or not, but when you drag it out, it should no longer be listed in the list or not.
No, that's how you spawn them. At least that's how it was presented originally. I think you wanted a hide button or something. I'm not sure. That sort of came later. I'll see if I can get to it if I have stretch goal time.
Hang on, I got a message. Okay. So first of all, this one, what does it actually do? Just changes background color, right? The wrists.
It's just a residual button. It's gonna be gone. I think it's supposed to trigger a video or something.
Okay. Oh, right. So right. Okay. So right now it's not useful. Okay. I
Yeah. I mean, you're still seeing like work in progress stuff. Not every button works and things like that.
no, no, exactly. That's what I'm trying to establish, so I know what to
Okay, should I be
test.
using hands or controllers?
Hands.
Okay.
Yeah, very nice. Okay.
Ah,
So what I think focus means something different than what I thought. Could you explain what it is now?
Focus is the same as it's always been in my space. I don't know if that was has always been wrong. It just brings it closer to you. Makes it a little bit smaller so you can read it at a closer distance.
Yeah, but that makes it actually seem like it's less focused, like it's smaller and hang on. I don't know, Dini, how do you feel about the current focus?
I'm getting it right
Yeah.
now, so give me a second.
I didn't I haven't changed the focus. It still does what it did in the last version. I just sort of linked it into the new previews. So if we want the scale to be different, that's very possible.
So I'm looking at a black text white document now. How do I close it currently?
There's an X in the top right. We do still want to move that somewhere else, but it
Um,
was never put into the design, so I'm not sure where you want it.
hang on. So I have to scroll for the X, right?
No, it's just there. It's the little gray dot.
Not in my build.
Really? That's
Yeah.
weird. It was there in the video that I recorded for the build.
Uh, yeah, I saw the video on my phone, so no, I believe it's
So
there.
if you look at the top right of the document, just floating outside the box bounds, there's no dot there.
Hang on, let me okay, hang on, just get rid of that. That's and
Because that
I'm
would be very strange. And I would need to look into that.
okay, so I'm going to try to share here. No, wrong. You
Ah,
can see
okay.
my view now, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes. Okay, just
Resolution's
flip.
a little bit low for me. I think that's my bandwidth.
right. Um,
Okay.
so this is what I have here.
Huh.
Maybe
Okay. And
I'll just reload
it,
actually.
yeah, maybe. I've been since we've crammed so much in it now, I've been getting increasingly frustrated with 3JS not loading all of my text, which has been a real big annoyance because
So we have this
don't have any control over that.
nice and simple. Right. So this, when we choose one of these sections, this will collapse onto the side at some point, right?
What do you mean?
We shouldn't have, when we're looking at this, we don't need, I think this was supposed to be, reduced something here to be pulled out, but, we'll look at it.
Where would it go? In all of the previews in the document you guys gave me, it's been visible in everything, and it never said anything about disappearing, but I can move it. That's not a problem. What would you like it to do?
Yeah, let's look at that afterwards. That's a good point. So I've opened here now to see an abstract, which is great.
Hmm.
From here, I cannot open it, right? I have
Right.
to,
I
how do
believe there's a difference.
oh, I can. I just click on it.
There you go.
Click on it again.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the close button either, which is strange. I didn't know that could unload itself. I wonder if I moved it by accident when I was, no, that wouldn't make sense. Try generating one by dragging it out. I want to see if there's a difference.
Oh, yeah, that's different. So now we have a close and focus underneath there as well.
Right, so that's the one that's meant to be for functionality.
Oh, okay. So then I go close. Oh, okay, close open. I must have just,
You actually didn't click close, you clicked right next to close.
yeah, no, exactly. I must have slipped. So yes.
But if that's frustrating, we should probably refine that. Yeah, I don't see the close button. It should be in the top right. Maybe it's just not rendering for the screen share, but I
No,
don't see it.
it's not here. We
Hmm.
also need to
Well,
look at the default height. That's a bit tall to begin with now. Let's
oh, is
just,
it? Okay.
so we have focus here, and I'm not sure if the focus, as we're testing it now, is all that useful. Because it makes it smaller but closer, just as you said, but it doesn't make it more readable. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm having a hard time getting into the introduction. I kept going back to the old version.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm trying to reload the new one.
Like it's a cache issue or you're on the wrong
Yeah,
URL?
I think it's a cat. I think no, it's a URL. I think it's a cache issue. I mean, everything loaded at once. The whole thing just went meow.
Huh.
So that's weird.
In my view, the control sphere seemed to replace my entire wrist, and it was about the size of a tennis ball. Is it supposed to look like that, Andrew?
Yeah, it replaces your wrist. I think that's the same as normal.
Okay.
Tennis ball sounds a little bit large, but it does
Yeah, it was
replace
the
the
size
whole
of a tennis
wrist.
ball. It replaced my wrist and was the size of an entire tennis ball.
Yeah, if it's like slightly larger than the wrist, then that's correct. If it's like as large as the hand, that would be wrong.
Halfway between the two.
So, Andrew, you can still see my screen, right?
Yeah, well, I can't read anything, but you're like presenting or something.
Right. So, on this one, this illustrates when you've opened one of the all papers, long papers, etc. In
Right.
this view, oh, sorry, it went forward. The previous this thing is now stuck to the side.
Which we have right now, I believe.
I think it's free floating.
It is, yes, but it spawns next to that. Do you want it like actually attached, like it moves together?
I think so because it's kind of a tab in a sense. And if you
Interesting.
open
Okay.
in the future more than one proceedings, you may want to have that. But also, the whichever one has been selected, all papers or whatever, you'll make big and white as well, right?
Make what?
In that little sidebar, that list of all papers, long papers, etc.,
Hmm.
whichever one has been selected and opened, you will make it bold and white, right?
I guess I can if you want me to. If it's linked to it, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
because
you don't want it to be able to move anymore once you've got it generated?
the design here, the intention was that it would be stuck to the side, but here
Okay. I
it,
took it as they were both movable because of they were kind of like separate pieces. So I guess I just misunderstood your design.
yeah, of course, that's absolutely fine. That's the whole reason we have these discussions. But Peter and Dini, what do you feel it should be?
I thought they were connected. I thought that was the point. They're supposed to stay connected.
Yeah, I had the same sense.
Okay. Sounds like everybody was on the same page except me. So
Well,
I'll connect them.
well, the thing is, you have one big point, Andrew, because on this slide here, it's not connected. So you sitting coding away, I can easily understand why that was not clear to you. It's so easy for us to make assumptions because we don't have to build it.
So we're gonna need a close button then, because most likely you don't want to always be looking at a list of documents, right? Or should we go back to the idea we threw around before where it's on like a timer, where you haven't grabbed a document for a while and it kind of closes? I feel like that frustrates users because they won't understand why it disappeared, but
I'm going to exit this and go off sharing. And then just try to talk about this. Because now it's getting, now you've done so much work, Andrew, it's getting really interesting to try to make things make sense. Right, so we start with a proceedings. In the future, we may very well build a library outside of this, which has many proceedings, but we now start with one. User goes through and says, what kind of subset, all or long or whatever, taps that, and that opens, the list of proceedings opens centrally. The initial box is now stuck to the side.
yeah, so it generates visually the same, but then you can't move them separate from one another.
Yeah. So what I think we had, and it's not in these keynotes, was the notion of that stuff, the original box on the side being able to, kind of slide under, so it's only partly visible.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all. It was always going to be off to the side. I never remember it moving at all behind anything. The point we were talking about is focus, bringing things in focus and out of focus. That's different than moving the box behind the bigger box. Let me ask you this. So we had a deadline of August 25th to have kind of a good rough build so that we can start. I need to build a testing tool for folks that are going to be there to help us test, do the survey, right? And so we don't want to be making that survey tool, right before we leave to go on the trip. So anything that's going to be changed from what the design is, we need to have that done because Andrew's deadline is coming up. So Andrew, let me ask you this question. How far along, how much more do you have left that's going to maybe not make our deadline? Do you think you make I guess what I'm trying to say is, will we make our deadline with the current
Yeah, I
design?
think I'm right on track with getting everything done because the only thing I have left now, I say only, it's a pretty big task. It's the document changes. So having the outline work on the side now and then the references being fully rebuilt into the document. Um, both things that those are part of the plan and I think I can get them done in time. It's pushing it a little bit, but we knew it would be when we had this whole redesign with a month left. Uh, um, Obviously, I don't want to like have a design that was not agreed upon. So having them attached to each other was part of the plan the whole time, and I just misunderstood that. So I'll make sure I get that working.
The 25th is on a Sunday. We meet on Monday, the 26th.
I believe my deadline is the 30th for everything.
Okay, that's going to be right after the 28th. So the 28th, what I'd like to think we're going to do is see kind of
Oh yeah, it would have to be like basically done the 28th, and then I would have I really only have Thursday at that point to work. But that would be just sort of polish, so little things where it's like, hey, can we have this animate slower and stuff like that.
That gives me the weekend, Frodo, to get you a draft of the survey so that you can look at it. I'm going to put it in Qualtrics. The university has Qualtrics, which is lovely. And I'll get Holly to help me build that tool. But I want to have the text together, the questions together, so that we spend Wednesday, the 28th, building that out.
And Deanie, I can
Any,
have kind of a version. It might not be fully done, but on the 26th for you. So you have more time to put that together.
yeah, and so then Holly can finish building it out in terms of the making sure it's in good order. And then Frodo, that means then that the 28th is that Wednesday, the 30th is Friday. We're leaving the lab. All of us that are going are on the 5th. So that's a week before we leave. So I don't want to have anything hanging over my head after that Sunday, the 1st. I want to know that I can have that Labor Day to get packed up and get things ready for the trip, right? I've got lots of things to get done. So what I'm suggesting is that we build out, if there's anything that's not following the design plan, we need to fix that now. If it's following the plan, let's build that out. And then when we come back from testing, then we might have a lot of little things to fix. So we do that after we get back rather than trying to cram it all in before we go to Poznan and potentially break what's working, right? And it's looking really good.
So yeah, absolutely, and thank you for the reminder of the dates. That is absolutely crucial. Now, one thing I wanted to do today, and again, apologies that I didn't do the agenda. I hope that won't happen again. Is I'd like us to write out some kind of I don't know what to call it, maybe a script for what the experimenter in the hypertext conference will do. So or I'm not sure if we just necessarily want to put something on their heads and just say, do whatever. So I think we basically have that functionality now. So I think today we should do exactly the polishing of, actually, shall I just walk through what I think it is?
Well, what I would recommend we do is that once, I think that next Wednesday, it'd be good for all of us to go through a script together. Like, let's bring a script forward. You and I, Froda, you and I work on that. And then we bring it to the group on Wednesday, and then we go through it together because I'm going to also want a video clip of this. We'll walk through.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We want a video clip, but okay, well, let's just run through the basic functionality that we expect to be there, because it isn't that much, which is good because we polished it down to what is more useful, right? So person opens, sees that column of options of the proceedings. They tap on whichever one, it opens, and as of now, the little box will be stuck to the side.
Mhm.
Right. When this is one thing, let me just share real quick. So I don't know where this went, and if this is real work, Andrew, just tell me to jump out of a window. But my notion was that once it's open, after a while, it slides under so that you can always get it back.
I remember seeing that slide, and that's what made me think, oh, they can move independently from one another. So I was like, oh, if the user wants, they can put it behind the other one. Okay, I see where it went wrong. Yeah, I can get that as part of the attachment.
Okay, very nice. Now, here's the question then. Should it be a manual operation for the user to shove it under? Or once the user opens and gets this list, should it maybe after a second or two slide under so the
I
user
like,
knows they can touch it to slide it back out?
yeah, I like it automatic, and then just like sort of mousing over it, it'll pop back out. That seems
Right.
good to me.
Okay, cool.
It'll take a bit more work, but uh, I I think I have time for it.
Okay, thank you. We do not have a requirement at this point to be able to switch everything between right and left-handed. The only thing is you've gone above and beyond to do that for the hand, correct?
Everything does left and right.
Okay, does that mean then that with the parameters you're working in, when somebody opens to see a list of papers, this little box can appear on the left if they are left-handed.
Yeah, it does right now. That's what it showed in the video. If you swap hands and then do it, it switches sides.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so that's very, very useful. And will that also be the same behavior for the table of contents?
I think we agreed that no. We talked about it before, so I might be misremembering what the conclusion was. You know, we kind of go around a lot when we discuss. But I think it was we always have it on the side of the scroll bar, and we never put the scroll bar on the left. So
That's right. That's what we said.
I don't disagree with that. It's just really good to go through. Now, Dini, you're left-handed, right?
Hmm.
So you've never had a computer, I guess, where the scroll bar could be on the left. Would you want it to be on the left, hypothetically?
Whenever I make a piece of electronic literature art, it's always on the right-hand side.
Okay, so
I
you
never
have
have
to
my
keep.
menu. I never have my menu on the left. Fallow field is on the right. Everything's done totally opposite in my
Okay.
world. But I
Okay.
have learned to live in your world because I had to.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the concern. Exactly. Peter?
Yeah, I was just saying it might be interesting to have a two document open at a time view with the mirror with the side menu mirrored so that on the right one it would be on the right and on the left document it would be on the left with the two documents nudged up against one another. But there are lots of times I'd like to have two papers side by side. But that might be something for the next iteration of the project because I think it's probably out of scope of what we're doing so far.
That sounds like a perfect. You say the word, Dini. Side quest. Say side quest. No,
I think
stretch goal. Stretch goal.
we're talking about two papers at one time later on. It's definitely in the plan, but not for September.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have 10 papers at a time right now, but it'll get very, very laggy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. Now, I have a very specific request, Andrew, and that is this little scroll bar. If the darkest side of it could please match exactly the color of the background, because currently it looks like a kind
It's
of
a
a
little bit darker
pastel.
at the moment.
Hmm?
Yeah, it's a little bit darker at the moment because there's a rendering issue. I have since sort of fixed the rendering issue, but have not updated the little notch. So yeah, that'll be an easy fix.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. Right. Okay. So we're happy with everything. You got these. Now, you just told us that when you drag out, you get the correct box with the focus and close. There's an issue with the click now. That's fine. You're going to fix that. So then
Uh, which issue are we talking about?
the issue of when you click on a paper and it opens, and the abstract doesn't have a focus and close buttons at the bottom.
Yeah, you didn't want them on the preview, right? You just want them on the actual mini box that gets dragged out.
Okay, so that's a really interesting difference. I don't know what the difference is. If I click and
Well, because
drag,
one of them stays and the other one doesn't. If you drag it out, it's persistent. You can do whatever you want with it. You can put it wherever you want. It doesn't disappear. If you're just tapping through them, the little preview box gets despawned and a new one shows up in its place. And I should probably not make that freely draggable. That should probably be locked as well if you're locking the other bar also. I guess just for consistency.
that's not really my experience so far. Now I'm running a beta version of Vision, so sometimes it takes a while to start up. But what I experienced just now is that if I click on something, I get basically the same. I don't get a okay, finally it's starting up. Hang on.
Yeah, they look almost the same. Um,
I'm not sure if we should have two different kind of medium views, rent things. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, we can make them the same. I just thought that was not the plan. Since you have two different functions, you said when you drag it out, it spawns the preview box, but when you tap it, it shows the preview box. So I'm like, I don't know, this sounds like they're supposed to be different.
Danny, what do you think?
What do you have right now, Andrew?
Um, I have it where you tap on the titles, it shows a little preview of the abstract, which you can move around. But if you drag the title out, you get the full one with the menu at the bottom. I can
That's what we
easily
wanted.
make,
That
I
that's
thought
that's
so,
that's what we wanted
but
from. Is there a problem with that?
admittedly, it's a little bit confusing because they look so similar. Um, So what we could consider doing is if we make them both have the same functionality, then dragging out the text title really is just for positioning, I suppose. The problem is you don't want tapping on this to just spawn infinite numbers of abstracts because that's obviously excessive. You only want to spawn one when you choose to.
Yeah.
So we should keep them distinct. I would say maybe just sort of visually to make this obvious, if we're locking the sidebar, we should also lock the sort of preview box.
So I'm opening long papers, and
Yep.
I'm just going to set this up as in drag this a little bit to the side and drag that. Oh, sorry, I'm a bit slow. This is not the system, this is me. Right, so I have this as the main, and this thing would now be slightly underneath, leave it there. So if I now drag one out, I'll just drag it up, it does this.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah,
I
I
love
like that. Yeah, I love this too. Close. So if I now tap on one, it does this. And
Right.
this is the problem I have with this is it's free flip. Oops, I opened it by mistake, and I have no idea how to close it.
Right. And I don't know where the close button went.
Yeah, that put it to the side. Um, I actually, we all like, sorry, we all like, whoops, we like this view here, right? So do we need the other one?
No.
Right, fine.
Would that make it easy for you, Andrew, to eliminate that other view?
Just turn it off. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
So,
delete,
so
delete.
what
So
I'm
then
hearing right now, go ahead.
what does tapping on it do then? Nothing? Just don't worry
Same,
about it.
same as dragging,
Well,
but not to a
what?
specific spot. It just comes forward. So
So you want it to be the same then. So then all you want is me to put the subtitle into the preview box. There's a problem with this though, because we have to consider every functionality, right? If tapping spawns one, every time you're tapping, you're going to just get a massive, they're just going to cover the screen because they're not going away. Obviously, that's not okay.
okay, hang on.
So then we're back to the current design because they have to
Okay, okay. So
despawn themselves, right?
if I now, I really think it should be drag and drop because it's elegant and it means you're managing your
Mhm.
workspace. So if
Yeah,
you,
I like keeping that function. I don't want to get rid of that.
exactly. So we're
Took a
happy
lot
with
of
it.
work too.
So the functionality of tapping here, should we just make that do nothing for now? You have to drag it out.
I
We could, or I could lock it in place and somehow make that distinct enough. I don't know.
I think dragging it out. So tapping it and dragging it out makes sense.
No,
Highlighting
hang
it
on.
does.
Tapping or dragging out.
Tapping and dragging it out. So what I think is useful is when you tap on it, it moves and highlights. So there's an interactive element. And then you pull it out and then it becomes static on the screen. And you can move out as many as you want.
I'm a
And
little bit lost, Deanie. I'm sorry. What do you mean by when you tap it, it moves?
well, when he was
You-
tapping it, there's a little bit of a action that takes place. It seems to highlight a little bit. At least
Yeah, and it's got the bars that come down and sort of
yeah, yeah,
outline it.
yeah. That's what I mean. And then you bring it out. But what's missing is a close button. So we need close buttons on that main text, right?
There's close buttons on these. The close button disappeared from the document. I don't know why, but I'm working on the document, so maybe I
But
turned it
that's the
off
only
by
thing.
accident.
But that's the only thing I'm seeing is missing right now. We're moving in the right direction with everything else that was in the design document.
Yeah. Frodo, you starting to feel the lag, the frame rate drops when you have this much on screen?
No.
No? That's good.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
definitely do in the Quest.
So questions then for I'm being a bit crazy because of that question. Just to no, it's good. It sometimes drops the hand movement. I have to pinch again, but that's a detail. So I think you guys were talking about the list here to close this list, right?
Yeah, we still need that too, especially if it's gonna now kind of take over the sidebar.
Well, so here's the thing, because what we've decided, whoops, what we
Just
decided is,
add another button to that sidebar menu.
well, the thing is, when you have just a list of papers, the sidebar will be hidden behind, like it'll just show a little bit, right?
Right. So maybe you don't mind. Maybe just always have it like that.
Well, then the question becomes, because even this massive workspace can get cluttered, you may very well want to hide it. So maybe this sidebar thing here, the ACM Hypertext 2022, maybe we put something on here to tinify it. I mean, one thing, please, we've looked at this before, but it's not in the document now. But what about if you touch the title, then the whole thing collapses to just be the title? Because would you want to lose, oops, would you want to lose the whole sidebar and the list of the proceedings in this view? You don't want to ever lose it
No,
completely,
yeah, I
right?
think it makes sense to keep it. There was the issue that you saw though right there. I just want to
Yeah,
draw attention to it because it just happened. When you tap through, if you don't mind, open one of the previews by just tapping on it, not dragging.
yeah, trying.
Yeah, I can see your fingers twitching out. It must not be tracking well. So now if you move that somewhere, right? And now you tap on opening another preview, since that's not a persistent box, that's just a little preview box, doesn't have the sub menu. Tapping will remove it and spawn a new one. Um, and I think watching you work, that has gotten a little bit confusing for the user. So I think very much that should also be locked
No, 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 we don't need
if
it.
we keep it, or just get rid of it entirely.
Get rid of it.
Just okay.
Dini, I think you agreed with me. Let me just say it back to make sure no misunderstanding. When the user points to something, it'll keep making it white and bold.
Yep,
However, if the user just taps on one, nothing will happen. They have to tap and drag.
It'll
exactly.
technically outline it, but it won't spawn any boxes. So you
Yeah,
can be like, I want to remember this spot, and it will.
right.
So
Okay, cool.
yeah,
That sounds good then.
Good. Now I have requests. One of them is everywhere there is a text box, I would like the inside to be slightly darker than the background. Is that a reasonable thing with your current setup?
Oh yeah, for sure. I thought you wanted it the same color. It's my bad.
No, no, no. You're bad. That's funny. You nothing
Well,
bad. Let me just. Oh, this was really weird. Just right now, when I looked at my hand because of the lighting, I forgot I had the headset on.
huh.
I felt like an idiot for trying to swipe on my. Oh, that was weird. Okay, well, let's just look at the design. Yeah, because we have them here, but only in some of the designs, you see? It's not everywhere.
Wait, so you don't want all of them to be darker? You just want the preview boxes to be dark?
I would very much like all of them, but my bad in only having highlighted some of them to be darker. Dini, do you think they should all be slightly more contrasty like this?
I kind of like color coding so that we have levels. So like the next level is a little bit darker, and the next le are maybe darker, and the next level's lighter. So there's some distinction between abstracts and papers.
I like that, Dini, except for one piece of logic, and that is when you open to read a document, it's black text on a white background. So if
So
you
then
then look
maybe
at
the
this,
preview is the current light. The menu is darker, right? So then you'd have the depth where it starts off dark and then gets lighter the more you get, the further you go, the closer you get to opening the document.
oh
I
yeah,
love
no,
that.
I understand that, but the issue with that is reading is easier when there's a bit higher contrast. So let me just think. Okay, how about this? You can see everything clearly, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this thing on the back here starts as is. The papers are a touch darker background, and then the abstract bar that we pull out is as dark as this, just by eye. You don't need to, measure eyedropper. That makes sense, right?
Wait, so it's getting darker until it hits the document and then it gets light?
Yes, because simply to help readability of the different levels. And then when you get to the documents, it kind of opens up in a different world. It's no longer giving the impression. It's now supposed to feel to the new users like, oh, now you basically have a scrolling PDF. Unless we want to reverse that color, which I don't think we do.
No, I don't
I
think
would
so.
say, let me respond to that, and then Peter has his hand up. To build the notion of depth, we could use the premise that the paper is white, but each level behind it is a slight bit darker. That way we have this kind of succession, right? And it makes a kind of an intellectual cognitive logic. As you get closer to the document, it's lighter and easier to read. So that's one way of thinking about this environment.
I agree with that, Dini, but then I do have a question, and I really don't know the answer to the question. So if we start with darkest in the background, lighter and lighter, and then we get to the document itself, which is of course white, though it's reversed. The only issue with that is the abstract preview area will be less contrast. It'll be lighter than
Yeah.
this. But that's probably okay, actually. Andrew, is it relatively easy for you to change these colors?
Uh, so it's easy to change them all at once because I have color palettes built in. Um, I don't have color palettes set up for sort of like progress like you guys are talking about. So I can definitely do it, but it would take a little bit more work to do the sort of gradient thing where it's getting lighter or darker.
How about we
But if that's
just,
what you decide on, I can try to push that in.
okay, how
Yes.
about this as a suggestion to all of you? We do it a little darker now. You do that as soon as you can, and then you send us some screenshots or video, and we just decide then. And maybe it's because I love the idea of creating depth this way, but maybe we don't need to invest in it.
Well, let me say this, since we're on a deadline, we can leave it as it is right now. And that's a question we can ask in the survey.
Yeah, it takes me like 30 seconds to make it darker. It'll
Okay.
take like a couple hours to do the gradient thing.
No, exactly. So make it darker. Perfect. Right. So on this document, I feel that when the papers spawn, they're too skinny and tall. I feel the default should be more like this and less like this. What is your feeling?
I think you're just feeling that it's more squished because it's curved. Uh, but maybe not. Obviously, this preview here is squished it way more than it is inside the space. I can change the dimensions of it, but that was an older thing, and it's getting a bit tough to start changing that now. I can try.
No, 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 not the dimension. Just hang on, because we have this little triangle. So it's just the default height I'm talking about, right?
If you're talking about the height, I can change that easily. I thought you were talking about the width. You said it was squished.
No, no, no. I just mean, okay. So, Deanie, Peter, looking at me moving this up and down, what do you think the default height should be when you're on read mode?
Why do we have to have a default height?
Well, it opens to a size, and currently I feel it's too much. So that makes it uncomfortable. I always have to resize it. So if I now focus this, right? Oh, and now it's basically crashed.
I like that size right there in front of you.
I
Andrew's a
have
little bit
to
smaller.
re-enter it. Oops.
And Peter hand's been up. Peter, let's let you talk.
Yeah, because I just have a few more minutes. I just wanted, before I go, to give you a report on a side quest I've been on for a while,
Okay.
and that's actually getting some programming done on my headset using the IMBA language, which is my preferred language to work in. I'm very efficient in it, and trying to combine that with 3D programming for the headset. So I decided that I was going to try the Babylon JS library because that's a different technology than Andrew's been using, and that might give some insights into ideas we could port over, or it might prove to be an alternative for a second system down the road. The Babylon system is pretty much a procedural approach, so it's not using tags like the A-frame library. But IMBA is letting me create an A-frame like skin on top of the Babylon library. So that's going fairly well. I'm taking an object-oriented approach, so I have like a base VR experience as a tag type. Then I'm creating a subclass of that tag for whatever actual experience I'm building. So basically, the empty scene with absolutely nothing populating it is the base tag. Then your own scene with your customizations becomes a subclass of that in which you override the render method in order to add whatever elements you're going to be adding to your scene. That seems to be going fairly well so far. I have IMBA creating the appropriate interface to be able to jump into XR. It's working in the Oculus, and so far I basically have a tennis court sized plane with a red grid lines on a black background floor with a bunch of custom spheres appearing at each of the corner of the rectangle. The base Babylon library provides hand input. It also provides for controller input. I'm able to teleport within the environment either by using the controller joystick or by pinching my fingers, which causes a teleport destination circle to appear. And if you hold it at a fixed position for a variable number of seconds that you can override if you don't like the default, it will jump you to that location. So that's working so far. So I'm making fairly good headway. I don't have any code to show yet. I really want to clean it up because my highest priority has always been creating embedded domain-specific languages to make it easier for me to do what I want to do. So I'm getting away from the ugly Babylon native syntax and skinning it. And maybe in a week or two, I'll be able to show you what the source code that I'm able to write in this system looks like, and maybe try to get some text in it to take a
Hey,
look at.
Peter,
So I'm
this
making
is
headway.
great. So are you going to be able to write that up for the Future of Text book?
Yeah, probably for the book, I could describe the experience and what I'm doing with that.
Perfect.
That'd actually be a
That'd
very
be
good.
great. And then also, are you thinking about being able to be here for the symposium? Can you be here for a day or two?
With my elder care obligations, it looks highly unlikely.
Are you the only one taking
Really, I'd
care
have
of your
to,
mother?
yeah, because I'm taking care of her, and really I have to like convince her to travel, and she's not into flights.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'd love to have an article about that, certainly in a demo of some sort that we could show.
Yeah, thank you, Peter.
Okay, and I'm gonna have to drop now.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.
Thank
See you next
you.
week.
Yep, take care. See you Monday.
So this is a really important area where we need to finalize designs today because there are some variability from here for what we could do. Now, one thing I think the references are completely very different standard from the rest. And I think that's totally fine because we really don't have the time to do a lot with them, right? They already have really cool functionality. So should we say the references as they are done for now?
I
Oh,
would.
I thought there was a whole document with a redesign for the references that I had to follow.
Yeah,
Do
but
you have time to do it?
no,
I was planning on it. It was going to be a little bit tight, but I was going to go into that next, essentially.
well, if you can do it, great. But the thing is, I'm looking at two reading view documents now. One of they both are not in focus because they have buttons that says I can focus and unfocus. And I don't think, I mean, Andrew, please, first of all, let me make it clear. The fact that we can have this discussion is great. So I don't disagree with anything you've done, but now we can understand it better. So the three of us now have to decide what should the non-focused view be like based on what we have, and what should the focused view be like, right? I feel that the document here, the web at war, hypertext, etc., is amazing. The only thing I would personally want is to spawn it not quite as high. I would like it something like this to look like an American letter size proportion. The other one, I think the text is too large and it's a bit too close. Dini, do you have a feeling on this?
Boy, I would love to avoid things looking like a piece of paper. I understand we need to make it small, a little less tall. That makes a lot of sense, but I certainly would hate to think that we're just recreating the desktop in this virtual space and we're not pushing it to do something different because we can do something different. We can read differently. I mean, that's the point. We're not trying to read how we already read. What is reading in this virtual environment? And I'd like to think it's not the same
I,
as on a
I,
desktop.
I strongly agree with you. And I think this, now we're at a stage where, and it's nice that it's only the three of us, despite loving everybody on the team, to have a bit more specific talk because I agree with that, but I also agree that being in the headset now, this is just more comfortable because my headset top view is here, bottom view is here, which means that I can view the whole thing without moving my head. This one is very much look down and look up. So, obviously these are extremes, kind of. So,
Was imagining that we can move the pad, so like just to push back a little bit. This is just a debate. So the big one, the tall one, my imagining was that we could, move it down with our hands, read it, and then move it up. We're moving the paper up like this. We're not scrolling. We're moving the paper up. We can't move paper with our hands on the desktop. We can only scroll. Endless scrolling, infinite scrolling.
okay, well, look, this is a fantastic discussion. I'm really, really excited by this. Hang on, I'm going to put the power pack on the chair so I don't drop it. Okay, so I think this goes back to the three of us sitting in Washington State in the beginning and realizing that full freedom of movement for a document is useless, throwing it like an object. We need some kind of snapping. That's really important, right? And that's why we have the focus thing. So what I'm thinking about now is we only need to have, as we have, a document listed, a preview with the abstract, and an open thing. Once we have it open, we currently have the paradigm of focus and non-focus, which is distance-based, right? Maybe that isn't actually what we want. Maybe what we want, and I'm not trying to be more complicated, I'm trying to simplify, is a gesture to toggle between huge vertical and much more constrained. I think that's closer to what you talked about, Deanie, where I think you talked about maybe something, you have it up here, and when you're ready, you kind of instantly snap it down to reading space, something like that. Am I kind of right?
So it would be a button that says like expand or something, and it just like
Yeah,
stretches it out.
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
That would be interesting for sure.
Because okay, let me just show you without leaving that. I haven't had a good internet connection for a few days. It feels like I'm working in some kind of a nirvana. Oh, what do you mean it's expired? My own software's expired? Okay. Um, okay. I did some panorama tests a while ago. Let me just see if they load.
Hey, Rob, good to see you.
We have an interlook. Oh, yeah. Right. Remember this? So we've done some tests. We're just having it all the way like this, right? Where obviously this is not super readable, but the notion is that that's not what I meant. The notion here was the section you're reading is a bit bigger, but everything is here. I'm not saying we should do a full redesign, please don't worry. But what I am saying, are you all there, by the way?
No, we all disappeared.
Oh no, now I can talk to you honestly. Oh, this Deanie
Talking to
woman.
yourself.
Just don't tell Rob any of this. Just don't do that.
I can't hear a word.
Excellent. I can't hear you either. Right. Okay. So, okay. Sorry, Andrew. This is going to be annoying. These headings in here, 2.1 emergence, blah, 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 are they known to the system or are they just plain text? Could you spawn a window based on that heading?
That, but uh, right now, no. Can you describe what you're trying to get it to do?
Yes.
What type of window do you want to spawn?
Okay, so here's the thing. I couldn't show you in Reader now, but one of the views I have in Reader for normal PDF, you have all, instead of two-page spread, you have all-page spread. And it works, but it's not perfect. I have to do some things to it. But I'm just wondering here, the notion of, okay, Dini, I'm interrogating you here to try to understand myself, okay? The notion we're trying to do is easily and quickly go into an incredible rich view to read the text huge and putting it away for a moment while we look at something else. Is that right?
I guess so. Yeah.
So what, so the, let me just check, see if I can move this out. Hello. Oh, it's not reacting to me now. Okay. No, it's not reacting. Okay, so, okay, so let me imagine this then. And this is just me, my brain going a bit crazy. Imagine if I point to this big paper and I take my other hand and I just slap it, some kind of a gesture that's clear, right? Let's not go into detail about that. Could that maybe then make the document appear as a preview abstract again? I'm just going to go back
I
and
like the idea that at some point it can revert itself back to pure abstract. I don't know where to put it. Um, I think you know my take on adding more gestures. Um, that being said, I'll do it if you guys ask. I don't know if I really have time to add a whole new gesture right now, so button would probably be the best approach at the moment. But
okay,
we could always just consider if we don't think we actually need the expand button to make it like jump to a height, because you can just do that by dragging. So it may be counterintuitive. You could get rid of the focus and put it as like some kind of button that returns it to the abstract. I don't know what we'd call it, but that might be useful to have
right. Okay, I'm just going to move this to the
instead.
side. Okay, so we've agreed that when you have the list of papers, the only interaction you have is to drag one out to get this. This is we agree on. So that's a big, huge improvement. While you do that, this side thing will slide under a little bit. So that's done. That's really good. That in itself is very useful. So when we have this, we probably, yeah, the close is good. The focus probably shouldn't, we shouldn't have a focus. We should have an open button there. That's what it should be.
Okay, so then do we get rid of the tap the background to have it open? It is a little bit strange for the user. So maybe just put it as the open button instead.
I
Or do
think
you want to
so.
keep the tap?
Dini, what do you think?
I just noticed you triggered the open quite a bit by accident today.
Yeah, I
So
think
we
that's
may
a
want to
problem.
keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think it shouldn't
I
be
think,
tap in here to open. Yeah, you see, I did it again. So that should be an open button.
Okay.
did you want me to say something?
Yeah, please, please. Sorry, I can't see your face. So yes, please.
Yes, okay. We want to give control to the user as much as possible, and we want it to be as intuitive. And if you have something that can be accidentally triggered, that's not a good thing. So I think we rely on hypertext, so the linking structure, tapping on hyperlinks to kind of guide us, because that is already built into our psyche. So close, open, and then there's gestural language already built into our psyche. So we just take that and start with that, right? And then we can build on top of that, breadcrumb to the next level, which is the hands and the fingers,
I think we
the
agree completely
monomenu.
on this. Yes.
Right. So it
Okay.
sounds like in every place that it currently says focus, that gets replaced with a sort of toggle back and forth between
Open close.
document and yeah, I don't know what we want to call that. Open
Maybe
makes sense when
expand.
you're in the abstract,
Maybe
but close doesn't make sense going backwards. What was that?
Expand.
yeah.
Expand?
So
Yeah, that sounds great.
in
And then
summary,
collapse, would that be the
Yes.
other?
no.
Yeah.
Collapse. A
Yeah.
lot of
I would
people.
say,
Sorry, what? I didn't hear. Sorry, I spoke over you. I didn't mean to. Please repeat.
the opposite of expand is to collapse.
I've had people complain about, I used to call it that in an author. People said it was a bit violent, which is funny, but that's a thing. But okay,
Collapses? Interesting.
So one thing we can do is expand and fold, or fold and unfold, because one of the nice things, if we do open this now, okay, I did two, you see. It does,
Isn't
I
it
feel like
expand and contract?
contract.
Contract is good. Rob, that's wonderful.
I'm a word guy.
I
Leave
know
it to the
you are.
author.
I love you. That's why we love you.
that's
We
Okay,
not
do
love
we
you.
want to do
why.
that? Expand and
Okay,
contract?
maybe that is why.
So, Frodo, expand and contract.
I'm not sure.
Oh, how was the base disconnected? This whole thing is like,
No comment.
I have no idea how that would even happen.
Okay, it decided to fix itself. Um,
Oh, weird. All right.
okay, I suggest we do something different. Plus and minus.
That didn't tell me
Just a
anything.
single, like it's spelled out plus and minus, or like
No,
the
no, no.
actual icon.
This and that here.
Because that's kind of hard to click on in this VR space.
Make it a big,
But
make it a bigger target. Make the target as at least as big as unfocus.
but
But
that's
literally
width.
all you see is a plus or minus.
You can't
That
go
doesn't
very
tell me
tall with it.
anything. That doesn't tell me anything. As a user, I would not. That's a quake thing. Clear only if known. Using language, because we're using language throughout. If we just all of a sudden throw a symbol in, it would look weird.
We have a symbol here, right?
Yeah, but we got words on the menu. The menu is all words.
No, but this deals with the window itself. This deals with the contents. So to have a symbol here, and I'm not saying plus or minus, it's not like I've married that particular way of looking at it, but if we have it's something that someone would need to be told once, hopefully. But anyway,
Um,
whatever we call it, or symbol or text, we are talking about changing what is here, right?
yes,
Right.
yes. So I guess if you don't really care so much what it says at the moment, I just personally want to go with Rob's expand and contract for now, and we have plenty of time to change it. Rewriting text is
Okay,
instant.
okay. I have a solution because you are all right. We're going to do exactly that. We're going to call it expand and we're going to call it fold. How about not fold instead of contract?
Right. That sounds fine.
To fold it
Yeah,
back.
that can work.
That's
Oh,
fine.
then unfold and fold.
No, but
Yeah,
contract.
but
No, expand
unfold
and fold is nice.
unfold doesn't make any sense if you're seeing it for
You'd
the
have to
first
do an
time.
animation of folding and unfolding.
I guess it does kind of do this, doesn't it?
Expand and fold.
Well,
Well,
they're
I'll
not
put it in.
unfolding
How
is
about
not
people just
expanding.
I would
No,
say
no,
expand and contract.
folding in and expanding out.
Okay,
I
so
think
I
this
would
should be
say
in maybe something that we sit on and think about because
It
I
doesn't
can
matter. We
change the
can
text
change it
later just
anytime.
fine.
Yes. Change it anytime.
this is a small little thing. So let's just whatever you want to call it and move on because this is something we can test and we can ask in the survey.
Yeah. Okay.
Good
Now,
idea.
I have one more thing that I would like to ask, and this is under the question, first of all, if people agree, is it going to be difficult? There's quite a thick margin on the right, and there's a really tiny one on the left. Can we have a touch more margin on the left?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can have as much margin as you'd like, but I think it's like that to make room for the scroll.
Yeah, probably. And I'm wondering now if,
Do you want it to be the same on the left, even though there isn't a scroll? Just like give it the same amount of margin?
okay,
I
so
would give it a little bit more. Not necessarily even, but get a tiny bit more because it's on the edge a little bit.
Okay, that's fair.
And more readable.
so it relates to this, right? So you will be able to have the touch the notch to get the table of contents, right?
Uh, I thought we weren't going to touch the notch because it's very hard to grab, but just sort of mousing over, for lack of a better term, the pointer off to the right side of the document. Just boom, there it is. I think
Okay.
that was the direction we were going.
So let me ask you this then. Um, and please bear with me, this is going to be difficult to explain. Imagine we get rid of that notch. We make the area, the two margins the same. And on the right-hand side of the where the notch now is, we have a vertical bar just like this one. When you touch that bar anywhere, it spawns this. The reason for this is for it to mirror this thing going underneath. So you know that if there's something on the side, you can touch it. So if you then touch that bar, this thing comes out. We don't, yeah,
Why do you want to touch it though? Why not just sort of, oh, well, maybe you're talking about the same thing, just like passing over it.
yes. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because having the word outline at the bottom here is a bit
Yeah,
useless.
we're getting rid of that. That's going away.
Yeah. So then instead of read and references, we should probably have text and references, something like that. But again, labels we can change anytime.
Yeah, labels can change.
Yeah. Let me get, hang on. Let me see if I can,
We've gone over a lot of minor changes today,
yes. Yeah.
so I'll probably just go back and re-reference this video. I started by trying to take notes, but then like even the notes kept changing, so I just stopped.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yes, yes. And, I hope you feel a little bit better I'm just mocking something up here. By at least Danny and me agreeing that we don't necessarily need to worry about the references quite yet, because that's a huge job.
Yeah, I thought that was something that was really being pushed for, so I'm surprised to hear that, oh, maybe it isn't. So that'll definitely give me a bit more time if we do decide to drop it. My current sense is that we're not dropping that. We're just doing
No,
the
no,
other
no, we're
stuff
not dropping it.
first and seeing if there's time for it, right?
Yeah.
That's what you guys are saying?
Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about the document appears like this on the right, and here's that bar, maybe a bit taller, whatever. Touch it or get near, and you get this
Where does the bar go once it opens? Do
away.
you want it outlined, like in a box, or
No.
no?
One of the things Dini has said many times, and I really like to aspire to, is it shouldn't feel like paper. So where it's appropriate to have text in space, I think we should. That's my
So
feeling.
then, okay. Well, where'd this scroll bar go?
No scroll bar, because we can touch the document itself. The only
Yeah,
thing
the
we're
scroll
losing
bar
out,
visually shows you how far down the page you are. A lot
yeah,
of people commented on that before how they wanted that. I don't know if we should remove it just because there's four of us today.
that's exactly what we should. No, I'm just kidding. You're absolutely right. Maybe when you do a mouse over, it shows it.
Oh God. Okay, so we're really veering off the delivery stuff, and I
No,
want
not a
I want
lot.
to roll
Not a
us
lot.
back.
We're not bearing off very far. We're not. The only thing here is, okay,
Yeah, it's been a series of small veer offs, and I think I don't know. I partially will take the blame for this. Whenever I start saying yes to changes to the plan, they kind of just cascade, and then the next thing I know, we're redesigning stuff again. Um, so for clarifying what needs to be done that was already agreed to, absolutely. I think we need to be careful about adding new stuff. Um, so far, having the outline appear on the side is the plan, and talking about what you hover over to make it appear, that's also part of the plan. That's fine. But if we're going to start talking about, like, I don't know, adding in new functions, that would be different. So right now we're on the line. I would like to hear, Frode, I'd like to hear you out for the rest of this plan and then decide if it's in scope or not. But
that's
we're
absolutely fine. That's a good way of doing it. So right now we have the notch. If we got to keep that style, that's fine. This discussion came up because of the centering, the margin.
right.
Um,
We could maybe make the notch skinnier. It's a little bit wide at the moment. Maybe to make extra room for the margin, just squish that a little. I think visually having something there is good because people like to know how far down the document they are.
Yeah, fair enough. It doesn't have to go. I accept that argument as having been made by several humans. But with the structure, the way you have this thing now, instead of to make the mouse over area a bar, maybe a bar with a line like this that spawns this. Is that a big thing or not?
No, that makes sense. What I'm trying to figure out, what I was asking was where does that box go? Because there's a box there, you hover over it, and then the text comes out, but where's the box now? Is it just, does it stay in the corner? Then you're going to get it clipping, it's going to look weird. Does it come out and outline all of the reference section? Um,
Well, let's have a look.
we need to mock that up because it can't just,
Let's.
disappear. That looks silly.
I think it could disappear, but let's check.
No. It could even as far as like it pops further in when the text comes out. Like that's also a thing. It would be feel a little strange to hover over it and it goes the other direction, but
If you would prefer it to act like this, I would be totally happy with this.
it's not so much that I prefer it, it's just that we need to find out what it does. And
Yeah.
if
No,
that is
yeah.
just it disappears, that's fine. I just need to know.
I
Deanie,
sure like it. Okay, so I don't want to take us off scope, but I would love not to have a box showing when I have the text. Can I have one thing that I asked for at the very beginning of this entire adventure? I asked for text in space and it's gone now. Everything's in boxes. We're back on desktop. Everything looks like a Word doc or some sort of doc, pages, author, reader, whatever. And all I'm asking for is one little thing that doesn't look like a fucking piece of paper. Can I please have that?
does
We'll
that
throw
look,
Deanie a crumb and no box for that one.
Just
does,
one no box. Just one no box. Just one. I'm begging. I'm begging.
Um, would it be strange, guys, if we don't have any visual indicator that the outline is there and you just mouse over and find it? Um, they wouldn't know what to look for,
Oh.
unfortunately. Once they know it's there, they know it's there. Would that be bad design?
let me try to find
Yeah.
out. Okay, so if we have that bar,
Like
when,
the bar never goes away?
yeah, the bar just stays and Deanie floaty text comes out.
What do you think
That's a
about that?
compromise. That's a compromise.
I think that can work.
So when we say bar, I would prefer it if it has the horizontal top and bottom because that mirrors this thing here on the right.
Yeah, that's fine. That makes sense.
Okay. And on the bottom here, we have read and references. That's now going to be changed to text and references. Dini, what should it be called? As opposed to references. Paper references?
Well, the references is what we're calling it. I mean, that whole list is called references.
Yes, but what do we call the bit you're seeing now? The bit that isn't references.
Paper,
Body,
document.
Content?
Body, I think Rob got
Body
it.
makes sense.
Are we okay with body?
That's fine.
that's what they call it in the inspector body text.
Right, yes. So then the stage, just to talk about it for a minute, and I see you have 6 minutes left, Dini. The references, we'll see how far we get on that, but let's not talk about that today. Ideally, the references will appear within the context of this rather than as it is now, black on the side. But that is so interactive in its own right. I don't want to mess with it quite yet because I don't think it's that hard to explain to someone experiencing the system that the references are a whole new world.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you would lose a good amount of the current functionality by cramming it into the uh, document itself. Um, that's
Oh,
just how it would be, unfortunately.
so oops. So here we have obviously it's a triangle now, but to save time, I'm just indicating what it is. And what do we say? It's going to be fold or something, right? So those are the two.
That's what you wanted. Yeah, just leave it there.
Yeah. And the fold option will fold it back to the abstract, and that's where you close. You cannot close from this view. You have to fold it first, right?
Sure, that makes sense.
Right. Because that way we keep the top of it clean.
Yeah, I don't like the X just sort of floating there, but it was the only spot to put it in the meantime. So just having it not be there.
Agree. Now, the final thing about the reference is if the references appear separately and not inside here, body blah blah line references doesn't make sense because they're kind of tabs in a way.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So maybe what we should do is
But you said you did want the references inside here at some point. It's not like we're dropping that plan, right?
what you have done. Let me just go to Brilliant Andrew World here. So just wait for this to stabilize. Okay, so if I click on references now, it appears on the side, right?
All it does is it just generates relative to it. It's not doing anything fancy just because we kind of tacked that functionality on.
No, exactly. So here's the thing. You have the quote unquote old sidebar, which is actually really nice for this. So what I'm thinking, guys, is if when you choose references here, maybe first of all, you shouldn't have references at the bottom. Maybe it should be available. Hang on. You see references in the table of contents. Maybe that should be the action to spawn the references.
I don't
Can that
think
be
anyone's
something
going
we
to
could?
expect that.
Yeah, no, I want it on the paper.
You want it on here.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where I expect it.
Because we don't plan on leaving it as that separate thing, right? Like it's not going to stay as its own separate reference block that spawns. It's going to eventually be part of the document.
No, I don't think so, actually, Andrew,
Oh,
because
changing that maybe?
hang on. Sorry, there's a desk in the way. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
if we're planning on keeping it as its separate thing, then yeah, we do need to find a better design for linking to it.
Can we just leave it here for now? Is this something we can just leave now? This is not something that's important right now.
I think we are very close to a solution, actually. If we can literally, on the clock, Dini, could we do 2 minutes?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. So I'm thinking, fine, we'll leave it there as a button references. Fine, it comes up on the side. But what I think might be useful is for this to relate to this more, maybe, okay, so Dini, as an academic, you would probably want the paper and the references up sometimes at the same time, right?
I was imagining that's what we're going to do, but that's
Okay,
fine.
so that's very, very
Whatever
important.
you want. Whatever you want. I mean, I'm agreeable.
No, you are very agreeable, but this is very much to suit your workflow. Okay, so one thing we want in the future is probably find a document would go into the main document to find it and not draw it out on the side, right? Ideally.
Yeah, that would make sense. So it just scrolls to it rather than generating a little text block.
Yeah. So the first thing we have is agreed on now is that oh, that didn't work. That's fine. Oh, it froze. We're going to have the references open while the document is open. That's really, really important. So now we just have to make sure that makes sense. So all papers.
Then let's have the reference button be a toggle. So you tap it and it spawns the references. If you tap it again, it just removes the references. So that way you can toggle it kind of on and off.
Yeah, that's nice. Also,
Can I say something? Can I, as the academic? Just,
yeah, of course.
we're out of time. Let me just say something. Ideally, when I'm reading a text, what I really hate, the reason why I don't like paper is when I'm reading a text, I have to go to the end of the document to find the references. right? In a hypertextual environment, a web page, many times people have gotten smart enough to put a little reference link that takes me I click on the link one, and it takes me to one in the references, so I can bounce back and forth, right? That was a revelation that took place 30 years ago. Like, thank God I don't have to scroll through the back of the book to get to the damn references. Now we have a chance to change all of that. I'm reading the text, I click on references, it pops up right there by the side of me. And right where I'm looking, the reference that I'm looking for is kind of a line to it. Now, I'm not saying we do this today or for September. That's ideally what I would imagine we want for November. That's what I would like as an academic. Now, what you would like as a non-academic can be totally different.
Dini, I have exactly the same goals as you with this. It's very, very nice to hear you say it so clearly. So for now, we're not going to stress about the references too much, but they will stay apart. And we will look as we can into how they will relate to the main document. Because of course, we also want to get to a stage from the main document, you can click on a citation and open the references on the side and back and forth, right?
Yeah.
We need to keep something in mind with that, which is the actual citations. There's lots of them in the document. And every time you make some text interactable, it's a new Troika element. Specifically, if you're breaking a paragraph with one citation link in the middle, that's now 3 Troika elements instead of 1. And it's the number of elements, not the amount of text, that starts introducing frame rate drops. So suddenly having an additional like 40 or 50 elements per document is going to dramatically reduce the number of documents we can comfortably have open at a time. I hate to be like the downer about that. That's just the limitations we're working with right now. So,
And
but that's
it's
also
for
in the
the
future.
future.
So,
It's for the
okay.
future. It's not a worry. But this
All
is
right.
what we need to aim towards. A richly connected environment. The fact that the tech isn't there is okay. It's not for now. I'm extremely happy with today. It was a bit scary at times, but I think we did a few tweaks that are really, really good. Dini, please.
I like to talk to you after everybody leaves, just for a few minutes.
Okay, everybody go. Love you guys.
Andrew, I'll see you
Andrew,
at the meeting.
yeah, Andrew, I
Okay.
just want to reiterate something really important. The fact that you're getting so many little comments today, it's because you've done great work and we can comment. My imagination can't see past a certain point, and I'm very grateful the way you push back when something unreasonable is being asked. So it's all wonderful. See you on Monday.
See you guys Monday. And I
Yep.
Bye.
do appreciate the feedback.
Good.
See you in a minute. I want to talk about Scott.